What's up, everyone in the pre-game room? Is the audio working okay? If so, give me a S in the chat, or F if it doesn't work. I'm going to try to figure out how we could broadcast this at the same time over at Twitter Spaces. So bear with me. Bear with me. Yeah, Twitter actually do support live streams. You could, in theory, send live streams out on Twitter. I'm just going to try to see if I can do it in Spaces, because I would love to interact with you all in a voice situation. So we're going to see if that works. And just like that, we are live. Hi, and welcome to this Bounty Thursday live edition, because this, I need to start over. Don't I do like an intro that I always do? I do an intro, so I'll do that. Hi, my name is Sturk, and this is Bounty Thursdays. Isn't that amazing, though? Okay, awesome stuff. Thank you all for tuning in for this experiment. It's Bounty Thursdays live, and we're doing it in a way that I'm extremely not comfortable with. But hey, that's how it is. This is something that we do together. Mad respect to everyone that's tuning in over at YouTube, and I'm actually sending this at the same time over at Twitter Spaces, which is kind of cool. So if you're tuning in over at Twitter Spaces, cool, give me one of those hands up that shows that everything is working and you're happy and shiny. If you're not, that's cool too. So today's topic, it's going to be, we're going to talk a little bit out of bug bounty news, the things that are happening in the community and things, and we're going to talk about tools that make life easier. That's something that's always a thing that I'm quite passionate about. We're going to talk a bit about, some interesting events that we stumble upon. And there's always some kind of webinar happening or some kind of stuff. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, some things that I think is interesting. Then we're going to talk about why I think redirects matter. And we're going to do a quick little demo on how you could set up a quick Python script to do a redirect and why that could, in the end, it could turn out into be a blind SSRF. Who knows? And we're going to play around a little bit with SVGs, which is one of those new things that I've been falling in love with, stepping easily from what is defined as the XML world into SVGs, since it's XML based, and it's kind of including HTML in there. It's magnificent. I think we need to do a total other stream on just doing that, because it's all wrong button. This one, it's all when it comes to SVG for me. Anyway, okay, then we're gonna have a little bit of chat together with the community over at Twitter Spaces. So if you got any questions that you're interested in, like spit that. Like that's. If you have anything that you want to ask, I would like for you to join the Twitter Spaces so we can do a voice conversation there. But we're going to do that after I've been monologuing for a bit. So why not just get started? Yeah. And eventually, in the end, if we have time and everything's all good, we might just touch a little bit on Web3, because Web3 is Web3 and it's kind of like the future, isn't it? At least that feels like anyone that you stumble into that's a bit of interested into NFTs or whatever, that's you always end up in a situation where they talk about the blockchain and stuff. So we'll touch upon the security and the space that involves that a bit. So let's start it straight away with just looking into what's happening and what's worthy to talk about. First off, this stream is sponsored by the amazing people over at Integrity. Thank you so much, gang, for being a long-term supporter of the show. I'm very happy that you've been sticking with me through the time. So thank you very much for that. And if you aren't already a subscriber of their newsletter called Bug Bites. I definitely recommend you to dig into and check that out. It's so filled with information, and Pentest Land is doing a great job in just putting things together. So I'm really, really happy about that. I'm a noob streamer, so if I miss things in the chat, it's just because I can't just keep control of everything. So, but we'll figure things out in the end. Anyway, okay. There has been a little bit of there aren't really a lot of things happening around in the bug bounty space currently because, you know, we are in the beginning of the season. Everyone is kind of thinking that maybe we'll get out of a pandemic. So we will see if live hacking events returns. That's going to be exciting to see if we have something we can have on the radar. Integrity did recently just stop their XXS challenges. Pink Draconian has been doing some great jobs with providing awesome content around that. If you don't have that, I was supposed to have that on a video that played here. That didn't work, so yeah, we'll figure that out. And then we have, and then there's HackerOne has this new offering system that's really, really interesting that I'm gonna copy paste in here really fast. Didn't work. Okay, screw that then. All right. Let's just dive straight into the tools then. Who cares about news anyways? A really cool tool that came on my radar a little while back is it's made by Honoki. I mean, he has a great list when it comes to XXEs, if you're interested in that. But he made this tool called the copy regex matches, and it's like a really early trial, up and running burp plugin. It's fresh. And the cool thing with that is that you could type in some kind of regex that you like, and you will do a copy, and it will copy it to the clipboard. So let's say that you have a bunch of awesome URLs or something that you're interested in putting into an external, maybe you want to fuss it and you don't want to do that from your box that you're doing the manual testing on. You'll just make sure that you'll just copy paste that into another format, and you'll be able to, you know, you can copy paste it. I like that because you're always feeling kind of limited with the copy URL kind of thing on Burp. At least I do. So I think that's really, really cool. Imagine just looking for all the JavaScripts that you're interested in getting those down, and just grepping -R through all those for cool stuff. I mean, that's something that I would do. This is this is live. If things happen, it's just me just losing it, but that's all good. Another tool that, if you haven't already been playing around with it, it's interact.sh. It's old, yes, I know, but if you are not running your own interact.sh server to test all those out-of-band features, you're kind of missing out, because the whole thing with this is that it also allows you to set up wildcards. It allows you to respond to, like, it's like it has support for, you know, SMB and hashes capturing and all that cool stuff that you're used to having different kind of tools to play around with. And if you're doing this right, you have also the possibility to add a token to whatever you do. So you are the only one that's able to use it, because if you're putting up a Burp collaborator today, anyone that kind of knows the port for the polling can use it. And you don't really want to do that because it's your server and you want to make sure that you have it safe. So it's way better to, in my humble opinion, to have a collaborator server that you can control. And it's free to spin up. You put up a VPS, and then you register your own domain on DigitalOcean or whatever, and you're up and running. It's very, very, very useful. And as you can see, if you run it in verbose mode, you have the possibility to get those HTTP requests out, so you can see what's happening. If let's say that you're doing a long-term fuzzing adventure or something, and you're sending all these requests out, and you forget that, you forget about it. Shit fucking happens, right? You forget about it. And then a couple of weeks later, a timed conversion happens on something that you put out. And then, boom, it hits your callback server, and boom, hey, you have all that information. And if you're smart enough to put hashes or something similar inside your request, that way you'll see the name of the domain that you're sending a request to, because otherwise you'll get lost in all the information. That's what I do. In my scripting, I hash every line that I send away, so I always know that I have this. I always know what kind of request sent out that request. You can team that over with another tool that they have that's called Notify. Once again, Project Discovery is just slaying it per usual in the bounty space. And this one is so cool because you can pipe whatever you want to, more or less, into Notify. You preset it with your like Slack or Discord, Telegram, or whatever you're interested in getting. And what's going to happen is that when you pipe things into this, like so, it's going to send you a notification into whatever channel that you're running, like here. So if you have your job running and you wanted to say that it's complete or whatever, I talked about Telegram bots and other stuff earlier, but this one just replaces everything, like any kind of service or anything that you want to notify you about stuff. This one solves it, and that's all. You just pipe things into it, and it's going to end up in Discord or whatever you want to do. I find it extremely useful for those cases when I have things running and then I want to be reminded, but my automation is doing stuff and I always see something triggers. So I'm really, that's just something that I enjoy. See here, I'm gonna add this one here, NRG's comment there. That's how it is. You see one comment and you're saving it. That's how it works. Some other tools that I like that's been updated. Once again, hey, it's DNSX. It's a great tool by also, again, Project Discovery. Seems like I'm fanboying on Project Discovery lately, but hey, maybe I am. Maybe that's what I'm doing. Is this the Project Discovery stream? Who knows? Anyway, they have cool stuff, and DNSX has been updated, so now you can use word lists for brute forcing, which is pretty cool because now you can use that into your workflow and make sure that you can just once again build on your automation because hey, isn't that what we all do? Or at least we wish we kind of did. I know I wish I did it better, but I'm kind of cheating now and then. I get stuck in situation where I go app deep on one app and just never don't run other stuff. But hey, that's how it is. We go back and forth. That's life. Anyway, I promised that we should talk a little bit about some interesting events that's gonna happen in the near future, and I know. Especially, in Sweden. Sweden's open up again. So there's going to be all these live conferences coming out. There's going to be like Security Fest, SecT, and all these real conferences that I want to go to. I know Detectify is going to have a really cool event in the near future. I'm betting all the hacking platforms like BugCrowd, Integrity Hacker One, they're going to make stuff that they're going to put out. But one event that I want to highlight that's in the real near future is SABCon. And this is me as a burp fanboy kind of pushing SAP. But that's the thing. This is a great lineup. There's so many smart people here that's going to talk about amazing stuff. So if I was you, I would sign up for this in like no time, blazing fast. Smash, sign up for this. I mean, check this out. Out-of-band application security testing with SAP. Learning a little bit of the secrets of the SAP. I'm done with that. Drive-by pen testing, SAP integration automation. This is smart people. This is good stuff. Love to dig more into that. That's definitely something that I would love to dig deeper in. Then we have this. We changed over. I saw this tweet the other day. I can't remember who sent it out, but it points to David's Git repo that's called Awesome Google VRP Write-Ups. And this is such a gem. There's so much in here I mean, some links are outdated, but this is a really, really, really good site if you want to dig into and see some of that. If you want to see some really cool write-ups, I mean, there's something in here for everyone. And when it comes to write-ups and disclosed bugs and everything, I personally think those always are more encouraging and makes me feel more getting that, ooh, I really want to hack kind of vibe, compared to saying, oh, I got 15K on blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. I know I've been tweeting like, oh, I made X amount of money because, I kind of thought that was the thing in the beginning. I don't. Now I'm madly in love with people that creates and shares things that are inspirational. If I see a write-up, like take this one here, for instance. Let's do the SSR vulnerability in AppSheet. Let's see what happens if we open this one up. Here we go. Boom. Nice. All right. So, SSRF in a webhook, you say. Well, yeah, that stuff happens. And what's really interesting with this is that if you have some kind of single sign-on configuration, or if you're in a situation where two different systems need to talk to each other, so you want to connect solution A with solution B. Usually, you're sending a request and they're talking to each other and they're happy, shiny. What's going to happen in this case is that what David here, and I'm hoping it's David that wrote it, so I'm not butchering somebody else. Sorry for that if that happened. And what he shows that he's trying to connect to this service, right? And that's something that you do. And almost always, there's going to be some kind of blocking here. So if you try to use this URL here, and you would put in the metadata of, let's say, AWS or Alibaba or localhost or whatever, the system is most likely going to say, bang, stop. That's not going to work. We block that because it's a part of the blacklist. And that's common. But if you get it to send a request out and to another server, like your server that you control, and you're doing a 301 or 302 redirect, pointing it back again to, let's say, AWS data, there's a big chance that you get a blind SSRF where it's capturing information and just putting it out there for you. So I've been playing around with that, and I figured that I would just demo a bit and show you, how you can do it, just as an inspiration. Why do redirects matter? And because I've been doing some research into malware lately, and a lot of the payloads that's being dropped around are currently in RTF templates and using the doc format, and those use a URL that they fetch a template and then it's getting embedded, and all shit happens. And I figured that, can we do this in Bounties too? Yeah, we can. So I started to look into, let's say, SVGs, and SVGs have this possibility to incorporate information. So let's take this image here, for instance, like here, super simple image. What this image here contains is that it says Disco is dead, but then it fetched the Google logo and just put that on top of everything. And that's going to happen normally. And it's kind of part of how SVG works. You're able to import stuff and just putting stuff on something else. So I figured that let's just play around a bit with a redirector. So me Googling around the old internet, found some ways how you could write a redirect Python script. Like it's super simple, so don't slay me on this. But then again, what it does that whatever request it get, and if it's a get request, then it's going to do a head request, and then it's going to send a response that is 303, which is it forces head to turn into a get. And that's the thing, because when you use like I was doing with the RTFs, right? Heads were going out, and you're allowed to do stuff with that, but it doesn't contain any data. So you need to convert those into, you were supposed to convert those into a get. If you're sending a post is going to happen. So you need to convert those. So you either do like a 301 or a 302, which is a redirect and a temporary redirect. That's not going to work for you. But if you do a 307 or a 303, magic stuff happens. You better read up on the redirect RFC. I didn't have time to prepare a slide for that, but hey, next time I'll do that. Okay. So we have this redirector here, and what it's going to do is whatever we tell it, it's going to just put it somewhere, right? So let's do that. So if we do sudo python, and we say we do the redirect port 80, and we in this case we're gonna see if we can do a little bit of let's see here. If we have apparently I have a interact.sh one up here. So we copy this link here and we paste that in to our script here. I'm going to do HTTP because I don't want to fight around with it. So what's going to happen is that whatever request we're going to send from this server, it's going to send it to the other one. All fun and games here. So if we would curl that one, let's see if redirect works. I'm going to do that in this window here because you all can't see that. Because if I do that, I'm going to upsec myself, and then people are going to get real sad. Whoops, super fast. I messed that one up, didn't I? Okay, let's just switch over to this window. That's how it is. Okay, perfect. Back to the interact.sh, or actually full screen here. Maybe that will solve it up for us. Let's see here. Bear with me a second here. Life works in mysterious ways, right? And I'm just gonna get the IP address of the machine that I was playing around with. Like so. Let's see here. 321. Like so. Okay, perfect. Okay. So let's see if I would send a ping to this machine here, ping hyen.stokehacks.com. I was planning on asking all of you to give me a name of a subdomain that would work, but I didn't have that because the time to live wasn't long enough, so I messed that one up. So it's all good. So let's ping the old Sharky here, and you can see that, okay, that one works. So if we would, let's say we would do a wget in, do HTTP for the fun of it. And so we send any request here, image.jpg. Oh, not Stoke Frederick, stokehacks.com. You can see the request goes out and it hits the redirect, and the redirect sends that further on to what we find here is we can see here in our little bit of window, and we can see that the server is contacting our out-of-band server. So the redirect happened. So server contacts the server, connects to the server, redirect happens, it sends it over to a third-party server, and then, payloads execute. So why would this be dangerous, and what would be interesting if we were playing around with this? Well, imagine for a second that you were doing that request, and then instead of just sending it to some kind of like an out-of-band server, you would send that back again to you would send it back to, let's say, localhost and a port that isn't open on the internet. In this case, let's just do like this. Let's do like so. Cat, and then we do small.svg. So here's the SVG that we played around with earlier, right? And this is the IP address of my random box that's down here. That's the redirection server. So if we have this tiny, small, and amazingly cute SVG file that initially, looks like this, and we wanna replace that logo with something else, like this logo here. If we would upload this to a server, and that server would parse that, magic things could happen. That could be interesting. So let's see if we can do that. So on this top box here, I apparently have, let's see, convert. Here we go. Okay, got image magic running in this. This is a very common framework for converting like images into something else. And I mean, you were sitting in a situation where you probably have, let's say, and you're uploading this really cool wedding picture selfie of yourself, right? It's 6 megabytes huge to this app, and they kind of need to smash it together to make sure that, it's decent and doesn't take that much traffic. So they use something that's going to convert something. And they're also going to strip out of EXIF data and stuff to make sure that, things are all safe and good for you. So they need to modify it in a way. And we're going to do that. So let's say that we were playing around with this, and if we do, let's say, convert the small.svg to smaller.jpg, what's going to happen is that it's going to reach out and it's going to contact this server, and then it's going to redirect and try to connect again. So in this case, we got another setup where this server is reaching it and coming back in again. But if we instead inside this, let's do nano small .svg, and now you say, oh, Stack, for fuck's sake, why are you using nano, you idiot? And I'll say the reason is, if I was using Vim, that means that we need to shut down the stream because I need to unplug all my cables to continue doing stuff. So that's the reason why we're not using that, and instead is going with nano. So we say import 9000 here, or 99999, and then we'll do favicon.ico. Because imagine for a second that there was this internal thing running on a server here, and that would be fun. That would be interesting. And now we try to convert it again, and what it's going to do is that, oh, okay, I'm an idiot. Anyway, I wasn't supposed to write that inside the script, but as you see here, it can't find anything because I have no favicon running there. But in theory, you will put that inside the redirect, it will get back to you internally, and it would include that on top of the other image. And that would be a way for you to first, using the out-of-band request, make sure, does it even convert, or does something happen, or does it time out, or is there any other things that are happening in this? And then you can use that to try to locate and find internal data. I've seen this work a lot of times, and it's an extremely effective way to test systems. And apparently, image magic by design just follows tags because it's supposed to incorporate stuff. And SVGs are fun because you can put entities in there, and entities can turn into XXEs, it can turn into XEEs, which is entity expansions. There's almost endless possibilities when it comes to these kind of languages. So gotta love those. Gotta love those. So that's a pretty cool way to look at it. And I think that kind of just concludes what would be this stream. That would be it. Because now we've been live for 37 minutes. I was aiming to do it in 30. But I'm very, very happy that all of you tuned in for this. So if you got other things to do, now you can jet off and play around. But if you want to stick around, we're gonna do a bit of hangout with the people over at the Twitter space. So if you got any questions and you want to ask those and incorporate with me and others, now is a good time to join that good old Twitter space that's called Bounty Thursdays Live Community Chat. And if you want to ask a question, hey, why not request a question, and I'll do my best to answer it right here, right now. And we can see what's happened. Perfect. No questions. No one ever wants to ask something inside this Twitter space. Anyway, it's all good. Okay, so we're going to leave that for the fun, and then we're going to continue talking to the chat. Jason says that docx is XML based, so same principles apply. Yes, PowerPoints, anything like Word related, or you can even have this in systems that parse like JavaScript, jar files. It's very, very common. So XML is everywhere, and XML is love. So that's definitely something that, I just love it. So I'm going to go through the chat now a bit and see if we have any questions that you guys asked, and I'll do my best to answer those. So let's see if we can put this on the screen. So, okay, so Ragab asked us, yo, please tell us how to automate stuff and what to automate. Okay. Automate everything you can. The easiest question is, if it's possible for you to automate it, automate it. If you can't automate it, then don't. Like manual testing. Use automation as a way for you to spend time doing other things. Like you don't start a FUF and look at it. You start it and then eventually look at the results. That's kind of the whole idea. And Mayonnaise said this once, like if his machines isn't running anything, he's wasting time. So automate the things that you can, and if you can't, hey, that's it. And there's so much things on the interweb that can help you to understand how to automate things. But hey, start writing a bit of Python or Bash or Go, whatever. There's so many cool tools that you can chain together and get results, and you just build it that way, man. That's the way it is. Okay, let's see here. Got any new questions? Got anything in here? Got anything in there? Requested. Oh, Jason is requested. Let's see if we can invite him here. Connecting. Hey, Jason, you are on the Bounty Thursdays live show.
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm doing so good. Happy to have you around.
Yeah, no, it's great. I've been tuning in, and it's a really good conversation.
Thank you. I'm rusty though. It's been a while, and then sitting in front of a screen and not having the possibility to edit adds so many new layers to it. But it's cool.
Oh yeah, it does. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you're a used streamer. So I saw your comment about XML and docx. Do you want to expand on that a bit?
I mean, yeah. So the whole idea of embedding URLs to get external service interaction, right, is like one that I think is super cool. And I always think of testing in like layers, right? So, like good intro testers test for a lot of stuff that's injection based, and they look at an application in terms of parameters and fields, right? And then the next level of, really good testers, they can see this level of, how do you get interaction with the website through uploads and files, and then there's like kind of a 2.5, which is embedded code inside of image formats or documents, or really anything can embed in the binary data, links that possibly get parsed through different technologies, and then also some are explicitly parsed because they're XML based, like Word, and so that's where you start inputting like some payloads and try to get external service interaction. And I think like even the trickier ones too, in some of the conversation or things that I'm obsessed about is how do you find creative ways, that's not just an image upload, right? And like a lot of these that I found are integration based, right? So when you have your Facebook profile, and then an application, a custom application uses your Facebook profile or an integration from another site, maybe not Facebook because they scrub metadata now, but they do an integration with another site. Let's say you have a profile image in that site where you've laid a payload, and then the other site goes to retrieve the image to integrate. And those are sneaky ways to embed the attack into the application if explicitly through the upload. Their payloads like getting parsed out or something like that. You always have to think about all the angles in. So I really like this because there's a lot of like sneaky little tricks, and it's one of my favorite topics in kind of hacking sites and stuff.
I definitely agree. And because it takes it deeper, one more step into the realm of how things work. And you need to understand the format. And I've been spending way too much time reading up on RTF standards and SVG standards and old standard versus new, what changed, how do things work, how do you do this in systems that allow for these kind of standards and not. And to get into the mind of whoever built it and say, okay, what did they do to protect? Like maybe there's a situation where they say, I want to make sure that we are not allowing anyone to upload SVG file, for instance, or whatever. But if you rename it to PNG and they don't check for the magic byte, it might render anyway. And that's the whole, it's the whole thing that you need to get your brain around. So, do we have any more people in here that want to join this conversation? Please do make sure that you request and ask your questions. Maybe Jason here has a chance to answer it if he's not on the run.
Oh, yeah, sure. I was going to say that the best presentation I ever saw on file upload vulnerabilities and kind of the sneakiness of renaming files and sometimes parsing files, just everything to do with file uploads was by a really good hacker called Adim Sarouche, Dolly, and I think he works for one of the big consultancies, maybe Bishop Fox or NCC or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he broke down like all of these types of attacks, and it was still a reference. It's 5 years old and it's still a reference for me. It's like the pen test monkey cheat sheets, right? Like those things never age because they're just so good. So yeah, I think that was one of the ones I learned a lot from. I'll try to find it and put it in the chat.
And it's definitely one of those things that, things evolve. Things come around and they all come and go. It seems like we're back in the 90s again, fighting path traversals, right? That's what's been happening in the last year. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. We are in a state where it's ever evolving and more people getting in. Like, I promised that I might just touch on Web3 a bit, and I'm going to do that because it's really, really interesting because both me and Jason has been in the bounty space at least for a while. He's been ages more than I've been, but we in the beginning, the payouts weren't that high. Now there's at least 2 programs on Immunify that has $10 million, like or something like a ridiculous amount of money.
Web3 ones, yeah.
Yeah, to find something that's related to that. And it happens. That's the thing. We're sitting here and we're like, oh yeah, Web3, whatever, NFT, blah, blah, blah. But then again, things break. And that's really, really interesting because what should you do? There's going to be a situation where we have to live in this space, where we need to, the next generation is going to be building things on these NFT platforms or blockchains or whatever, and those need to be secured as well. And if we don't secure those, we're going to have a problem. I mean, that's the way it is.
It's super funny that you bring that up because like the Web3 stuff is it's a conversation that I've been kind of harping on a little bit on Twitter when I do still tweet is the fact that there's been some big hacks of the cryptocurrency marketplaces that I thought would have constituted way bigger payouts by really smart people in the bounty community. And because they weren't specifically Web3 focused, they were more focused on Web2 technologies like infrastructure and cloud security and just web security, Web 2.0 security. They were largely discounted or underpaid, at least in my opinion. And so what it got me to do is to sit down with my buddy Dan and we were talking about like, well, let's just for a little while, like talk about, go parse, what the big hacks have been and what the bounty submissions have been for Web3 companies. And so we're building, right now we're trying to build an OWASP project that talks about security around cryptocurrency and markets in Web3. And actually it tends up to be like 75% of all disclosed stuff ends up being Web 2 bones, actually.
Seriously?
And so really it's like the idea of like, web changes fundamentally. And yeah, there's smart contract stuff in the blockchain absolutely has contract vulnerabilities and a lot of fraud related stuff to it. But really the majority of it right now is actually Web 2.0 vulnerabilities. And so you gotta be strong there.
It makes all sense, but because that's kind of how it is nowadays. Because infrastructure doesn't just change overnight, and even though everything is decentralized, there's probably going to be some kind of stuff in a way that's, in the end, it's going to be vulnerable to the other things that we do. Okay, amazing people. We have now spent 45 minutes together, and I encourage you, if you want to do some question and answers, I've seen a couple of them that asks primarily around, is it too late to get started in bug bounties? And the answer to that, is it too late to get started with anything? It depends on what you want to do with it. If you want to go full-time professional and you want to do this for a living, cool, then do that. If you don't, fine, do that too. But there's never been a better situation for you to dip your toes in and play around. New programs are coming out all the time. Platforms are maturing. Payments are starting to work out. Why not? My sincere answer to that is why not? If this is something that you want to do, join in. So we got a question from Pancutty that's gonna ask a question. Let's see how it goes. It's connecting and all. This whole waiting thing isn't my thing. I'm like waiting 2 or 3 seconds for something to connect. Oh, it takes forever. Just like my scans, takes forever. No resting going on there. Okay, apparently that doesn't work out. So, hey, that's it. But yeah, okay. ABHIPK, you're on. Ask away. What's your question?
Hi, Stoke. Hi, Jason. Thank you so much for hosting this. You guys are awesome. So I started my journey because of you guys. I came into security, bug hunting because of you guys. So I have one question. I'm from India. I want to know how long is we have to spend time on one program.
Well,
is there any timeline?
Why? No, not really. It's all up to you. I mean, I have a couple of programs that I've been working on for a couple of years. That's the thing. It's like asking yourself, how much time do you want to spend on a new TV series that's been 15 seasons going? Do you want to see one episode? Do you want to see the pilot? Or you want to spend like watching all the seasons and see what happens in the next season? It's all up to you. It's your time. Jason, do you have anything to put in on that?
Yeah, I mean, like, I have a very defined way of like how I spend my time, like Stoke's talking about. So, if it's a small scope program, and the assets are very clearly defined in the scope, I won't, if I don't find anything within 5 to 8 hours of work over a couple days, I usually probably move on, if I'm being honest, right? Like, it's a combination of things, right? If I look at the technology, the site is on and it's pretty secure from the bugs that I usually find, and I've, done my due diligence, creating accounts, checking for IDORs and common injection and how it handles, variable input and stuff like that. Yeah, I would usually move on after about 5 to 8 hours. Now, if it's a big scope program, I don't have to move off the program because I can just find another asset on the program. And so I'll move on to another asset, right? And those are the kind of questions that I ask myself about every target on the asset. It's like, what technology is it using? Have I, probed it in different ways to understand kind of where I might succeed with with some testing and, and then I'll move on, after a little while. So that's kind of what I do.
I probably need to agree on that as well. There's certain kind of stuff that I like to look for, and if I don't identify those quite fast, or if there's some kind of like if I don't like the way it feels, it seems odd, but that's it. For me, it's like a
Yeah.
vibe. I'm sitting there, I'm poking at stuff, and I don't like stuff, or maybe I get some spider tingling senses. Then, man, this seems like a 2-week project. This is going to take longer because I need to dig into whatever's happening underneath, or whatever. Usually, for me, it's those apps that are a bit deeper inside. How they are designed. So a really boring static page or just one domain that's in scope, probably a quick flyover and I'm done. But the bigger, the better. It sounds weird, but that's kind of how it is. But if it gets too big, then I get like, oh, it's too big. I can't figure it out. And it needs to be like, for me, on some side, somewhere in the middle. Anyway.
It's like in Hackers when you see, Zero Cool sitting down and like all the like things floating around his head, right? All the math symbols. Like I kind of sit down and I look at an app and I try to think of all the entry points, like all the parameters, the file uploads, basically everything, like where I can input data and where the app connects. And I do that both authenticated and unauthenticated. And I do my due diligence with directory brute forcing, and input validation testing. And then after that point, I have a pretty good feel about like, okay, there's a lot to this app. There's many parameters, there's many input points, many integrations. Okay, at this point, I think probably to get a good feeling of coverage for this app, it's going to take a week, right? Or 2 weeks or something like that. But then other ones and a lot of very shallow apps, it's more like, oh, this is going to take 5 or 6 hours. And I already know that it's kind of diminishing returns because with the limited probing I've done, it's not really worth it to invest my time. I should probably move on to something else. So I know a lot of people think very differently. I think the more time you spend to understand 8, 12, 15, 20, 50 hours on on an app, something will magically pop out to you. But that's just me personally. That's how I look at it.
It's pretty sweet. We've got Pat here, or 143_Pat something, that's got a question. You're on.
Hey, Stock.
Hey, dude.
I am a beginner and I want to find first bug. So give me some tips.
Well, I think if you're listening to what Jason said, you start with something simple like do IDORs, don't spray XSSs everywhere. Try to understand how the app works. You need to remember.
I start with reading books, Web Hacking 101, and I want to complete it.
That's all good. So continue do all the Web Pen Testing Academy labs after that. Go hack, and you should be able to find things in an instance. That's kind of how it works. It's one of those things where you need to trust the process. Either you have it or you don't. If you don't find your bug, it's all about finding the bug.
Give me the
name
of bug. Okay.
But
beginner level bugs.
I can't tell you which bug is the best because there isn't any. The best bug for you is the one that you like looking for. So that's that's the answer. You need to find something that you're passionate to investing time in, and then you just go for that. Thank you very much for that question. I'm gonna kick you out now, but thank you so much for participating and asking your question. Jason, do you have any tips on the first bug? I don't have any.
It's funny because I like joining people who are new to InfoSec streaming or whatever. And there's a guy named James who's a new Twitch streamer who's kind of streaming his journey of getting into trying to find his first few bugs, right? And he really enjoys hacking, and he's a pen tester, and he spawned this also thread about like how much harder bug hunting is than like actually pen testing. And it's true. Like unless you're on the ground floor of a program that has had no security investment for many years, and those come about every once in a while, and you get in fast on those. Your basic bugs where you're just trying to put in cross-site scripting strings are probably not gonna they're not gonna pan out as they had in the labs that you took in BERT, right, or in Portswigger.
For sure.
And so you really have to, like you said, dive into dive into one bug usually that you feel really comfortable in finding both the shallow level bugs and then also like the next level of how do you find those things, like where do they present themselves, and then you get a little bit better at that and you build upon that knowledge and you'll find one eventually, right? And you can't be picky about your program sometimes. Like sometimes I know it's against counter advice, but I tell people go to a VDP, right? Just to get your confidence up, go to a VDP because the scope is wide and there's a lot of targets that are undersecured on a big VDP, and get your confidence up and find, like a relatively simple XSS or authentication bypass or IDOR or like something simple, and then build upon that knowledge and then move on to like paid programs. But there is an element, I think, of like how fast you jump on a program and just how secure they were when they came into, the bug bounty market, right? That client or that target. So, yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it's just luck, right? Like the guy I'm talking about, James, hasn't found his first bug and he's been working pretty hard for 6 months. And, that's just bad luck, I think. I think when I started, it took me maybe 2 or 3 months to find my first bug. And, it could vary person to person.
Absolutely. So we got room for one more question. We got 5 more minutes before we're leaving this adventure or experiment called Bounty Thursdays live. If you did enjoy this, please put write that in the chat. That's a good feedback for me to understand what goes on. We got Victor with us here. Victor, you're on.
Hi, Jason. Hi, Stoke. When you're reporting bug bounty, have type of reports changed? I'm like, which kind of give like a high level of what the security teams appreciate from both of your perspectives.
That did cut up a bit for me, so I'm not 100% sure that I heard what you said, but so could you rephrase it again, please?
Yeah, like when you're writing up a report and you're going to turn in your bug.
Yes.
What format have you found is useful to the organization, and then what kind of questions do they ask you for clarification?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe you could walk it.
No, I get it. I get it. Sometimes you're in a situation.
Great question too.
You can start off, Jason, if you want to.
Yeah. So I structure my submissions in a way I think a developer can understand them, I think. So at the beginning, they're very high level. So I start with the name of the bug, the CWE class associated to it, and then also how I found the asset. A lot of times people are really interested in how you found the asset. So, let's say I'm on a wide bug bounty program and, I'm like, okay, so I knew that I started this bug bounty program and I knew that you guys, owned this NetBlock space because of your ASN. And then I scanned your ASN, for, web servers. And I found this one, it had your logo on it. And so that's how I landed on this site. And so I start with a little paragraph about that. And then I talk about the attack and the impact of the bug. And I try to make it as simple as possible. If it's like XSS, I can say, XSS is a web vulnerability. I have this all templated, by the way, pre-written. But as a web vulnerability, it allows me to, attack users of your site and inherent trust of, your domain and your website through using JavaScript. And I give them the example, and then I give them another paragraph with an attack string. And then I talk about what I could do with it very theoretically, like if it's cross-site scripting stored or something like that. I go down like the rabbit hole if I could worm this, I could, embed it on a really popular site and affect mass users. I could, do full account takeover, et cetera. And then I give it to them in tools that are not just Burp as well. I give it to them in curl because all developers pretty much know how to use curl and how they can reproduce it themselves. And so there's a six-part submission process with sections. And then at that point, a developer can be like, cool, I understand exactly what this is, what it does, the impact, where I also add references. So do the bug bounty platforms now. They add references to like OWASP and stuff like that. And then usually that's really well received. Even if it's sometimes a shitty bug, writing it like that will get me a payout because it's just really well explained. That's my view on it, I think.
And I totally agree on that. And for me, it's all about also being very, I always include videos that are highly descriptive in what I'm doing. And me as a creative person, I talk with the team in my videos. I don't have a hard style music going like, whoa, 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 whatever, and just doing things and then randomly waiting. So I pace it up and I explain what I'm doing and I greet them and I say, this is what I found, this is the reason why, and this is how you can figure it out. It's like a mini tutorial explaining it. I'm really fast at editing, so it's no issue for me to do that. And I usually just talk over QuickTime recording and just remove all the things that needs to be waited for. But I found that was a good way for me to express things, because sometimes it's hard for people to understand what you're doing, because even though you spend maybe like months researching a certain kind of bug class that you're really, really good at, and it's challenging for most people if they don't have the same experience that you do. If you say, vuln shit here, arrow, that usually doesn't really do it. Jack put in the chat where he said, as a triager, the more info, the better. And I totally agree on that. But it's also like you need to weight it, because if you're spending shitloads of time on a bug that you think is amazing, and then you dupe with 499 other dudes, there's a risk with your time. So you need to juggle that a bit. You'll notice how the program works. So send in a couple, like Sean always says, send in a couple of bugs and see how responsive they are, how the team is working, and then just evolve from there. Okay, that sums it all up, Jason. We need to close this because we are now on the 1 hour mark, which is way over than I expected. Cool. So I'm extremely happy for everyone that tuned in. And if this is something that you want me to do again, twitter.com/DougFrederick. Let me know if you enjoyed this and if there's something that we should keep on doing every other week or so. That's it. Have a good one, and goodbye, Twitter area. And I'm going to finish this off on the YouTube end. So, ending this one. Okay, my beloved YouTube friends, it's been such a pleasure for you to join me on this first ever live edition of Bounty Thursdays. If this was something that you enjoyed, and I would like to, for me to do more of, to have this more of a conversation. I know you're very, very used on the 5-minute fast-paced ones. Maybe I'll do those too. We need to figure things out. It's all about learning in this space. So until next time, this stream will stay up. It's for your viewing pleasure. You can find me on all socials at StokeFrederick. And